morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys, and probably not girls. It is your boy, KIZZ, back again with another video talking about stuff. Now, I'm going to have to re-emphasize here that I cannot wear these glasses for the whole video because I am blind, and these are not prescriptions, so I can't see shit. I can't even see my monitor right now or anything like that, so I'm going to have to change out of these real quick. So, let me just change out of them real quick. There we go. Now that I'm wearing the proper apparel for I can see while I'm actually making this video today, what are we going to talk about today? What are we going to cover? Today I am going to pose a very simple question. Is the carbon tax worth it? And is it really worth us Canadian people paying the carbon tax? And how has the carbon tax actually affected the release of pollution so far? Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next segment where I have some tabs opened up as per usual, and we're just gonna go over some sources and talk about things. So I'm gonna try to make this quick. I'm gonna try to make it sweet, and I'm gonna try to make it absolutely understandable for everyone who's watching. So let's get on into it, shall we? So here we are. So let's start off with this one here. So I'm gonna start off nice and sweet, and this is gonna be, so how much does the average Canadian actually pay into carbon tax? So let's see here now. So this is how much carbon tax each province actually pays. So if I go down to here, this is the provincial territorial income tax. So the carbon tax and the income tax are kind of mixed in together. And then again, the rebates are separate from your regular taxes. So when you get a tax return in between the upcoming months here in Canada, it is separate. Then it doesn't go along with the carbon tax. I don't think the carbon tax is a separate rebate from that. So the top rate in Canada so far, per provincial and territorial tax, is of course the place that I live in, Alberta. So Alberta is that pays the most carbon tax, and British Columbia is right below it, along with Manitoba. And Newfoundland and Labrador is at a 26.1.8% taxable income. So yeah, so it's about $1,000. So this is how much you're taxed on each income. So Quebec, but the problem is Quebec has its own personal tax system. So Quebec is a bit different than all the other provinces. So Quebec has its own taxing system. So Quebec's taxes are actually reduced by 16.5%. Depending on, But once again, this is how much in Alberta we pay. It's about $341,000 to $502, and British Columbia pays in about this much here, and Newfoundland pays in about this much here. So Newfoundland actually pays in higher carbon taxes than we do, I think. Actually, no, interest and ordinary income is about 48%. So yeah, Alberta's still at the tippity top. Actually, no. Yeah, Newfoundland pays more carbon tax than we do, which is weird because during the last election, Newfoundland and Labrador was mostly a liberal stronghold, because a lot of liberals down in Newfoundland. Weirdly enough, I've been to Newfoundland a couple times. I've used to live down there, and a lot of the people I ask while I was in Newfoundland down there, I'd ask them whether they were conservative or liberal. At least the rural areas around Gander and St. John's are mostly conservative, from what I can tell. But then again, I might have missed out on a few. So these are all the different kinds of tax. Kitty tax. A minor child receives a certain passive income under an income. Yes. So this is all the amount of taxes. So let's just say Alberta pays the highest amount of tax. So how much do you actually get back from paying into the carbon tax? You may be asking, because I'm pretty sure a lot of Canadians out there, including myself, have actually gotten tax returns or the carbon tax rebate. Now, normally, the average one is for an individual is about $193. That is the average, returns from paying the carbon tax. Now, how much do you actually pay into the carbon tax? So how much is the carbon tax? So you receive about, say, a baseline of $193 for an individual. That's how much you receive. But how much do you actually pay in? Because another thing that I'm also curious about is this. Okay, so I've asked a few people that I know on how much they've received from the carbon tax, and this here is the general idea. Now, maybe a little bit hard to read, so I'm going to try to increase it as much as possible here. So the carbon tax for a part-time worker, so a part-time worker, say like working at Denny's, making $15 an hour, or working at Sobeys, Safeway, Canadian Tire, these are your basic minimum wage workers. They pay about between $124, or they receive about $124 or $210 from their carbon tax. Now, the baseline carbon tax, like I said before, was about $193 for a normal Canadian citizen, according to the Canadian government. But this is according to the government, and the government gets things wrong all the time. So I wouldn't really hope for the best, because the Canadian government is mostly just idiots in suits. So the carbon tax for someone who's only worked about approximately 3 months out of the year, so someone who's, don't work a whole often, is about $80 for that person. And the person who has, say, worked for the past 20 to 30 years, their regular carbon tax returns, from what I found, these are all from what I found, don't take them as concrete, these are just what I've found out from asking people, is about between $300 and $400. And at the end of the day, I just want to ask the question, is the carbon tax worth it? Is it really worth us paying it? And has it really actually made any big changes? So, how much is the carbon tax in Alberta? Now, this is the carbon tax for Alberta. So this is how much we're actually paying into the carbon tax. So this is how much we're going to be paying in, everybody. This is how much money we're putting in. Now, remember, we're only getting about $100 to $200 to $300 in returns, maybe $400 if you're lucky, once you pay your carbon tax. But how much are you actually paying in, and how much are you actually receiving back from the government? So on April 1st, 2023, which is coming up very soon, the federal carbon tax rate increased from $2,629, which is what we're currently paying, so this is how much you put in, to $3,327 per gigajoule. So this is how much you pay in per joule. And the average household consumes about 120 gigajoules per year. So if we do some quick math on that, with the hikes here, let me pull out the fashion calculator. If we take $3,327 and times that by approximately 120 per gigajoule, that is about $399,024, give or take. So you're paying about $300,000 per year, and you're only receiving between, once again, let me re-say this again. You're only receiving between $124 when you pay $399,000 that you're paying. That is about 5 to 10% you're actually getting back from this. So where does that other money go, you may ask? Where does the hundreds of thousands of dollars that you paid go to through the carbon tax? Well, if you've read the news, or if you've even heard the news lately, it'll be quite obvious. Justin Trudeau's vacations. We pay for Parliament and the police. Police get all that money that you've spent. And what has the police actually done for people? Sure, they've saved a few lives, and there sure are good police officers out there, but 99.9% of the time, the only time you ever see a police officer is whether you're getting a speeding ticket, or whether or not you're having everything in your property seized, or you're getting raided by the cops because some guy thought it'd be a funny idea to prank call the police. So, thanks, I guess. You're really helpful. We Canadians would be able to defend themselves if we had better gun laws, but we don't have better gun laws because apparently guns kill people. Well, they also kill bad people as well. So, you know what? This video isn't about that, so I'm just going to move on. So, we're paying more carbon tax in. So, that means the more, that means carbon tax, we must be releasing way more carbon emissions than what we used to. That's why we're paying more in order to contradict and try to push people towards reducing the amount of CO2 emissions or carbon emissions. Well, let me tell you, bud, as you can see clearly on your screen, the highest amount of carbon released was in 2007. 2007, all right? Right now, we are currently releasing 15.22% carbon emissions. The carbon emissions have been low. And the only reason why there's this dip in 2020 is because of the pandemic. So other than that, you know, not a lot of people were getting out because we're on a lockdown. So if the government truly wants to reduce carbon emissions, just keep shutting down the economy. This is when you guys had the least amount of carbon emissions released, right? And you guys are so trigger happy about keeping the carbon emissions low, right? Keeping carbon out of the air. Well, just lock down just do another lockdown, and boom, it'll shoot right down to here in 2020, about 14.49, which even then again, the highest carbon, the countries releasing the most CO2 into the atmosphere is China and India, and I have not seen Justin Trudeau go after either, other than India. Justin Trudeau tried attacking India, which is a dick move. Okay, come on, give him, like, what are you doing? So, in order to, a lot of people aren't too happy about, you know, how much they're getting back from the carbon tax and how much they're actually paying in and how much how much the average household is. Because, you know, you get, say, about $200, $200 to $300. $200 to $300 in Canada only covers monthly about groceries, food. That's it. It doesn't include clothing or any other miscellaneous items or accommodations. So accommodations could be between $800 to $1,500, $1,050. So in total, the average family living cost per month is about $1,255, or between $1,000 and $505. Or if you're living within Alberta, it's usually between $2,000 to $3,000 per month in order to live comfortably. And the tax return only gives you about between $100 and $400. That literally only covers either groceries and maybe a little bit of other items. I'm getting so angry here, I can't even speak. Miscellaneous items. So, a lot of people are going homeless. Miscellaneous also include monthly phone bills, laundry, and entertainment, which is usually around $75 per month. Which is, a lot of people spend way more than $75 per month, because you also got to include subscription services, your electric bills, yada, yada, yada. You know, things are going up, and the increase in the hikes in electric, and then you're paying for your electric bills and stuff, that's all increasing, along with the carbon tax, which will also increase groceries and all this other things, which means prices, TLDR, the government fucking hates you. They just hate you. In particular, they love the earth. They love it so much, but they hate you in particular. They hate people. They hate the people. You know, they hate people. So what's the government's grand idea to combat all this willy-nilly bullshit? Okay, you know, hunky dory. You know, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Well, Canada's considering a guaranteed universal basic income program. Here's what that means. So, Canada's taking its baby steps towards a basic income program meant to broadly address poverty. I wonder why there's poverty. I don't know why. I wonder why there's poverty. I really do wonder why. So the Senate National Finance Committee begins looking into Shenkin's proposition for a national framework for universal basic income on a program on October 17th. Since as far back as 1970s, Canada has flirted with the idea of basic income program, aka you get money from the government, aka you're sustaining yourself off the government, aka communism. It is straight up communism. This is what it is. This is what Canada has come to. It has come to communism. Canada is literally becoming a communist country. There is I'm just saying, I'm telling you what it is, and a lot of people ain't gonna like me for saying it, but Canada's become communist. This is literally becoming a communist country. I'm trying to drill that into your guys' head. Canada's become a communist. It's true. So, as a Canadian response benefit, which paid out $2,000 a month to millions of Canadians, has raised the possibility of permitting an income program. So, the carbon tax is so high and things are so expensive because of the carbon tax and other things, mostly our government, increasing taxes month by month. So, they're pressuring the public by raising taxes to hopefully that they want them to rely, the government wants us to rely on them for everything, all right? Everything, all right? So if we try to fight against the government, say if Alberta province, which is mostly conservative, doesn't vote liberal, they're like, well, you know, Alberta doesn't really deserve the universal income, basic income, so we're going to leave you out of that, and we'll still take your taxes, and we'll give, say, Toronto or Quebec the universal income. We'll use your money to pay them in Quebec or Toronto. So the government pretty much gets to decide who gets money and who doesn't get money. And the government pretty much owns you at that point. And you know what happens when the government owns you? Communism. Or a dictatorship. Mostly communism. Probably communism. 100% communism. So Canada's becoming communist, everybody. So Russia and Canada's going to have a lot in common here in the upcoming years. I'm telling you that. Livable basic income for anyone in Canada over the age of 17, including temporary workers, permanent residents, and so refugees, so not even Canadian citizens, they're going to get this too, because, you know, fuck you. Like, I know, they're like, but you, you know, it's just ridiculous. So I'm going to go on to my conclusions here, and I'm going to wrap this video up here real soon because we're hitting about 17 minutes. So I'll see you guys on the ending slide. So, welcome to the ending slide where this is going to be the conclusion of the video where I say my thoughts, and we're going to finish this up real quick and real nice and tidy. So, question of the day, is the carbon tax worth it? No. 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 No, no. No, 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 no. It is not worth it. It is not worth it absolutely at all. Now, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect the environment, which is all good. But you see, trees naturally intake carbon monoxide in order to produce oxygen, I think. I don't know. I remember I've seen some guy talking about something. He could be wrong, he could be right, but he said, you know, if we have more trees, that should be able to counteract the amount of CO2 in the air, because trees eat that shit up. And Canada has, well, let's be honest, 90% of the Canada is freaking trees anyways. So we're kind of covered there. And, you know, Justin Trudeau and all these liberals and all the environmentalists and all that stuff are forgetting. What about China or India? Like, what about those places? They produce a very high amount of emissions, but you never see them go after them. It's weird. It's really weird. It's not like China is one of the biggest economies in the world and every single country relies upon their goods or something like that. Or if a climate protest activist actually goes to China, they're either going to, 1, end up dead, or 2, in a camp somewhere. You know, free labor on all that, which I do applaud them. Good work, China. You know, if you keep taking these climate activists out of Canada, you know, go ahead, take them. We don't really need them. All they do is stand in the way of traffic and hold up orange flags saying, we care about the environment. You know, even though when you're stopping traffic, you're keeping the vehicles from running for longer periods of time, so technically you're releasing more CO2 into the atmosphere. Doesn't make any sense how any of that works, but hey, you know, climate activists, yay! Oh my god! I don't know. I'm just tired. I'm tired of the BS. I'm tired of the news. Okay, I watch way too much news. Don't blame me. So, carbon tax ain't worth it. Should we actually pay into it? Hell no. Trudeau, where's my money at? Where my money at? Where is my money? I swear.